to the channel. Today for BS Spooktober, we are taking a slight break from the spooky to review a new release, and today we are talking about The Hate U Give.
Now, if you've never heard of this film, it's based on a novel, and a pretty popular one at that, and it follows a young girl, black girl, as she struggles with the fact that a cop kills her friend right in front of her and what to do about that. And it kind of shows, how in America people react to this and her struggle through that situation.
This is a spoiler-free review, but as always, we like to talk about the plot just a little bit. I think the plot of this moved along very well. I think that it is a very hard to watch film, but important to watch film, and I think it's something that everybody should see. But the plot takes you through all of the feelings and emotions that you go through in a situation like this, or just what happens on all sides when something like this happens. And I think it portrayed that emotion very well without taking advantage of the audience or trying to manipulate emotions. I think it was done very authentically.
And so our main character is Star, played by Amandla Stenberg. And she does a really good job in this. I was very impressed with her performance. I thought she especially portrayed grief and anger really well without feeling like it was fabricated or overboard.
She also, the character plays this role where she has one foot in one world and one foot in another. She lives in, what she calls the ghetto, and then she also has a life at a mainly white high school that's a private school. And so she has these two sides of her, and I think she played those two sides and the kind of warring within herself based on having to identify with one identity or another and not being truly herself. I think that came across on camera very well.
And I think it's cool to see her transformation into her one true self and kind of figuring out where she is throughout this whole situation.
Another standout character in this film is Maverick, Star's father, played by Russell Hornsby, and I think that he was probably the best performance outside of the main characters. I think that he played this role incredibly well. I think the supporting, loving father who also has a history of being a major drug dealer and, has this incredible heart and love for his family while also trying to be authentic to him and his people is this really interesting dynamic, and I think that Russell played it extremely well. He was one of my favorite characters in the book, and I think that it was just such a good casting choice, and he did it extremely well.
If you've been on the channel before, you know that we are a sucker for good dad characters, because I feel like it's fairly recent that there's consistently good dads in media. And I guess a lot of these are book to movie adaptations.
Yes, particularly with YA novels lately, the father figures have just been to die for, and Maverick is definitely one of them.
Definitely. There are a ton of memorable side characters in this film as well. Anthony Mackie plays King, and he's the main antagonist of this film, not including the cops. I felt like you had KJ Apa is his name,
yes.
I believe. Yeah, he plays Star's boyfriend. There's a couple recognizable faces and a lot of big names, and I think all the side characters were good in this. I felt like the movie did a really good job at balancing their purpose. So it didn't necessarily let the side characters just move around a lot. I felt like especially KJ Apa's character and Star's best friend at the school, they were very intentional in how they portrayed these side characters, and I think it lent some strength to the film.
Most of these performances, if not all of them, are very nuanced. I feel like they did not fall into caricatures of themselves, which I think is very important in a story like this. You don't want to just portray this, drastic side of one set of people and a drastic side of another set of people. While those are things that happen within the narrative, there are more nuances and more dimension to the characters on what happens and how they learn and how they teach each other, and I think that was a really strong point of this film. As mentioned earlier, this is a book-to-movie adaptation. This is based on the book The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. This is a author debut, and I think it is a stunning debut by an author. It is an excellent first book, and I am incredibly impressed by the quality of this writing as a first-time author, published author. And I think that the book-to-movie aspect of this film was really, really good. I think it's one of the best book to movie adaptations I've seen in a long time, especially a YA novel. The characters were all very well cast and very well portrayed on camera, and I think the smaller moments or certain scenes that they left out of the film, they replaced with other scenes or looped into other scenes in a way that still got the message across and the main point of what those left out scenes were trying to convey. And so I really have zero issues with the things that were left out in the book, from the book.
I think the strongest part of the film by far is the message that it carries. I think that this film offers a very authentic look into Black culture and Black lives, and I think especially for people who aren't as informed at what that is like, I think a lot of people go through the world with a lot of ignorance and not quite understanding, and I think this really shows their side of things when it comes to especially the issue of police brutality and the killing of Black and or any people of color by police. And I think that's just such a strong message, and you can really watch this, and if you have any empathy at all, you just feel for these characters so much for the situation they go through and can see yourself in their shoes and what they go through. And I think it just portrays it really well and helps you understand.
I think it's also really important to note that obviously we have never been in this situation before and most likely never will be. So there's only so much we can bring to the table with our perspective. I highly recommend looking for other reviews by people who are Black or have a history with this kind of situation. I will try to find a few and link them down below, but as much as we empathized with this and think that it was a really great portrayal, that's only our perspective, which is not the most important perspective in this story, and I think that's important to note. And obviously this is a very important time in history for this message to be brought forth. Obviously a lot of other times in history this has been an important message to be brought forth. It's been happening for far too long, and I think that this is one of those films that everybody should see. It doesn't matter your history, your background, your age. I think that maybe for very small children you might want to see it for yourself first, just to make sure that the level of violence and everything that's shown on screen is something that's appropriate for your kid at this time. But I do think that it's something that everybody can take something away from, and it's going to make you uncomfortable, and that's good.
But as always, we are very interested to know what you guys have thought about this film. It did release early for us, so we're getting this review too, I think, before it's available for everyone. But if you have seen it, let us know down in the comments below, or if you're anticipating it, also let us know. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. It really helps us out. And remember that we are bringing you videos every day in October, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single one. And if you want to see some of the videos we already have posted, you can click right over there, and we'll see you guys next time.